Other people travel to the past and become princesses or noble ladies. But this girl became a destitute beggar. Not only does she have an ugly husband, but her son is a madman who loves to mutilate his mother. On the first day of her time travel, her son cut off her head. She thought her life had come to an end, but upon opening her eyes again, she had returned 10 years into the past. After a day of madness, Dahlia finally accepted reality. Now is not the time for sadness. To survive, she must get along with her son. But now she doesn't even know where her son is. How is she going to win him over like this? Suddenly, she felt dizzy. Countless memories flooded her mind. They are the memories of the previous owner of the body. So in my previous life, at this moment, my son had already been out of control for 6 years. Since he was born in a man's household, he, of humble birth, had no right to raise his son. Furthermore, my husband was constantly on campaign and did not stay long in the capital. That's why her days will be exceptionally difficult. Every day she suffered the indifference and condemnation of those around her. But she did not complain. She continued to carefully care for her newborn son, thinking that by having a son, she would receive a little more attention from the emperor. But what she received was a glacial phrase: "Your mission is over." At first, Dahlia did not understand the meaning of those words until the emperor's aunt appeared. Then she understood that the emperor wanted to snatch her son away from her. "Please don't take him away. I will assume all responsibility. I will make this child have a happy future," no matter how much Dahlia pleaded. She only received mockery from the emperor's aunt. "We told you your glorious mission was over. Leave the rest in our hands." She had barely finished speaking. Alfredo snatched the child from her, leaving Delia crying inconsolably. During the following 15 years, Delia never saw her son again until he killed her. After seeing the tragic life of the original owner, Dahlia couldn't help but shed tears of compassion. In her heart, she secretly swore that she would not allow this tragedy to repeat itself. Then she knocked on the door that had kept her son locked away for 15 years. Seeing this, the guards tried to stop her, but Dahlia stopped them with a firm voice. "I order you as the queen. I want to see the crown prince. Today I will see who dares to stop me." Shi Wei had never seen Her Majesty the Queen like this, so he obediently opened the door. The moment the door opened, Dahlia saw the young Yuri facing her son whom she had not seen for 6 years. Delia could no longer contain her impulse and hugged her son. Yuri, bewildered by his mother's sudden action, was somewhat stunned. He asked her, surprised, what she was doing. She caressed her son's cheek with eyes full of affection. "Because I missed you very much." In the previous life, due to her humble origins, she feared that by having contact with her son, she would turn him into an obedient son for others. That is why the original protagonist decided to separate from her son. But in this life, she will not do that. She will make up for the original protagonist's regrets. No matter what others say, she will never let go of her son's hand again. She will make him have a happy life. Perhaps Dahlia was so excited that she hugged her son until he was breathless. When Dahlia released him, her son's little face was pale. Dahlia had an apologetic expression. Before he could say anything, she saw her son complaining to his mother. Sadly, "I wrote so many letters. Why did you never answer me?" Delia was stunned. What letter? What letter is he talking about? In the original person's memories, she never received a letter. Yuri, seeing that his mother did not respond, felt even more discouraged. "Has mother never paid attention to me?" Delia, seeing this, wanted to explain herself, but she was interrupted by a maid who suddenly appeared. "Your Majesty the Empress, please move away from His Highness the Crown Prince immediately. The person responsible for the education of His Highness the Crown Prince. Mrs. Adarbido will arrive soon. While the lady does not return, please wait obediently in your room." She had barely finished speaking when she took Yuri and left through the main door. Seeing that the door was about to close, Dahlia tried to run in, but a maid stopped her. "Dahlia, you really are a headache. Yesterday you stayed quietly in your room, and today you run away again." Dahlia could no longer stand her nonsense, so she gave her a furious look. "Yuri just said that he wrote me a letter. What does this mean?" The maid stiffened, her face showing panic. "Oh, Your Majesty, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Seeing that the maid continued to hide the truth, Dahlia's gaze grew colder. "If you want to stay in this castle, then hand over the letters you are hiding." Delia's scolding had an effect indeed. Each time the maid brought all the letters she had hidden to Delia's room. Seeing 3 boxes full of letters, Delia could not imagine how long her son had been writing. She picked up a letter at random and began to read. Mother, how are you? I miss you very much. I will study hard. Mother, do you hate me? Why don't you answer my letters? I feel very lonely. Seeing that young version of herself, Delia could not hold back her tears. So this child thinks of me so much. She had been near that door countless times, but she didn't have the courage to open it without knowing that on the other side of the wall, the same thing was happening on the door. After he finished reading the letter, the maid immediately lowered her head and begged forgiveness from Her Majesty the Queen. This is my fault. I am very sorry. Dahlia doesn't want to hear that. She only wants to rescue the mastermind behind all this. Seeing the maids lower their heads, Dahlia did not give them any more trouble. The priority is to obtain custody of her son. But before that, she has to convince that man. Although after her son was snatched away, she never spoke to that cold man again. But for her son, Delia decided to take a risk. In a short time, she arrived at the Emperor's palace. The butler at the door was surprised at first. Then he greeted her with a smile. The Emperor did not seem too surprised to see her. What an unexpected visit. Faced with the Emperor's teasing, Dahlia did not appear nervous after a simple greeting. She entered the palace. Your Majesty must know about the sealed door, right? Klaus nodded slightly. To restore my relationship with concern, I could open that door. Dahlia did not want to lower herself before this man, but to access that door without obstacles. She needed the permission of the person in charge of education and the specific key to the door. If she obtained His Majesty's permission, no one would dare to point a finger at him. After Dahlia's words, Klaus remained silent. Dahlia didn't know what to do with him, so she simply dropped the letter that Yuri had written her on the table. Just now, I realized that Yuri had written to me many times, and during all this time, unbelievably, I didn't receive a single one. All these letters were hidden in the storage room. As a mother, I owe that child an apology, but I hope that in the days to come I can spend more time with him. Take care of him as he grows up. Klaus still said nothing. Dahlia gathered her courage and pointed at the assassin. Before you agree, I won't go anywhere. I will not allow anyone to come between my son and me. Seeing Dahlia's determination, Klaus finally responded, As you wish. Regarding that phrase, Darlos, how intense, you have accepted. Klaus doesn't care. Who told you that until you say yes to me? Wouldn't you leave here? Dahlia chokes. She has waited a long time for this day. Finally, she can see her son in broad daylight. Thank you very much. Your Majesty, allow me to withdraw. But before she could leave, the Emperor stopped her. I can grant you access to open the doors, but with one condition. As soon as he said this, the gratitude Dahlia felt completely vanished. Of course, she shouldn't have trusted this man to be so kind. These are the keys to the door. But every time you want to open it, you will have to come here to get them. Dahlia frowns. She doesn't understand what he intends. But for her son, she accepted. After Dahlia left, Klaus silently watched the hand that took the key, because this long-forgotten feeling returns. On the other hand, Dahlia, who got the key, opened the locked door immediately. But after she entered, no matter who she asked, they don't tell themselves where Yuri is. This greatly distresses Dahlia. They are being manipulated again, until, sweating profusely, she searched the entire garden. It was then that she found the small figure in the garden. First, she glanced at her son's recent letter. In it, it was written that he wanted to invite her to pick flowers together. Afterwards, she approached her son. Yuri did not expect to see his mother here again. Immediately after, he looked at the letter. I'm sorry, son, it's been a long time since I saw this letter. Right now, this is all I have. There are many other letters too. I will read each and every one of them. I will respond to each letter carefully. At that instant, the child's eyes filled with expectation, but he quickly hid his emotions. No matter what his mother said to him, he seemed distracted. Suddenly, he stood up abruptly and said to his mother, I'm leaving first, and he left. Faced with her son's departure, Dahlia is very sad. She doesn't understand what she has done wrong. For Yuri to hate his mother so much, perhaps a child's heart is much more fragile than adults believe. In any case, she will not give up. So let's start by understanding Yuri. Although I really want to see my son, each time I have to collect the key from that cold man. What a headache. Just as she was about to knock on the Emperor's bedroom door, a shrill sound behind her interrupted her. Madame Dahlia, His Majesty the Emperor is not in the city. He has gone to Bederlacia to inspect his lands. Delia knew that voice all too well. It was Mrs. Adrado, the same one who had snatched her son away. Seeing that her indifferent husband was not there, Delia didn't want to stay long. She turned around to leave. Mrs. Adrado seemed to know what she was going to do, and called her directly. "Oh, if you want to see Yuri, I can help you open the door." Delia was perplexed. She didn't believe Adelaide would be so kind, although she didn't know what she was plotting. For her son, Delia turned around. "This is the permit, give it to the doorman. This way you can come and go freely. An alms, a brazen alms." But it is precisely what he desired. But the instant her fingers brushed the permit, Mrs. Adrado dropped the permit with a malicious smile and stomped on it. "Madam Dahlia, indeed it is not your place to interfere in the education of the Crown Prince. The education of the prince has always been the responsibility of the female relatives from the south. Have you forgotten what His Majesty the Emperor said? As expected, Mrs. Adrado has come to humiliate her." Dahlia did not lose her temper. She only pressed her foot down hard. She knew her place in that castle. Mrs. Adrado was, after the Emperor, the one who held the power. Considering the precarious situation, confronting her now was not a smart decision. Seeing that Dahlia kept her head down, Mrs. Arredondo nodded with satisfaction. She hoped that some people would understand their place. After Mrs. Arredondo left, Dahlia picked up the permit. Now the most important thing for her was to see her son. After the last lesson, Delia has learned her lesson this time. She plans to start by understanding her son's life. Beer is busy practicing the sword or reading in the morning. He didn't notice anything until lunchtime. A small child accidentally dropped half a tomato. A maid would willingly pick it up, but from the beginning, she never looked at the child directly. Even if the child says sorry, the maid will choose to ignore him in Yuri's life throughout the morning. Leah had never seen a smile on her son's face, only silence. Until the maid leaves, the child's expression changes. He secretly hid an apple and ran alone towards the garden. Delia, behind him, had a confused expression. It wasn't where her son had been yesterday. Until a puppy appeared. Then she understood what Yuri used the apple for, seeing her son's innocent smile. As a mother, Deja felt her heart melt. It seems my son has a secret friend. Seeing my son so happy, Delia decides to do something. Why don't I bring him some milk? He will surely like it. But shortly after Dahlia left, the child receives an unexpected visit without giving him time for explanations. Mrs. Adrado ordered the servants to take the puppy away. Seeing his friend being taken away, the little boy could only cry inconsolably. "Grandma Juan, please don't, please." However, the only thing he received was a ruthless blow. How disgusting. Being a prince, he plays with that dirty beast. Don't you know your time is valuable? I've told you before, the only thing you should worry about is how to contribute to the country. You need to be punished. Give me your hand. The little boy trembled. She skillfully rolled up his sleeve. I can only close my eyes and wait for that concentrated pain to arrive. Mrs. Adelita gives a smile. He enjoys this, the pleasure of having power in his hands. But just at the moment when her cane was about to fall, Delia stopped her. "Mrs. Adelita, what are you doing?" "Madam Dahlia, you forgot my advice so soon." As she said this, she winked at the servant beside her. "Because lately, His Highness the Prince's behavior has been very strange, so I followed him and discovered he was feeding some dirty stray dogs." Her icy words made the child tremble. Dahlia knew it. That puppy is my daughter's only friend. So where did they take that puppy? That kind of dirty beast? Of course we got rid of it directly. Playing with stray dogs is a waste of time, so as not to delay the Crown Prince. It's probably in the incinerator right now. Upon saying this, the little boy fell into utter despair. That's too cruel. Seeing someone question her decision, Mrs. Adrado roared for Dahlia to shut up. "I am the one responsible, chosen by His Majesty the Emperor. A mere maiden from a baron family dares to question my decisions. If you continue to be so insolent, you'll see." Knowing how terrible Mrs. Adrado is, the child tearfully begs his mother to stop. "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have played with the puppy." Seeing her son cry so inconsolably, Dahlia's heart breaks. "Son, you have done nothing wrong. It's not your fault, His Highness the Prince. It's all because of your stupid and hypocritical behavior that caused the dog's death." These words deeply wounded the child's heart, realizing that he himself had killed the puppy. The boy cried even more inconsolably, repeating, "I'm sorry," over and over. Mrs. Adrado put her hands to her forehead, unable to do anything. "Oh, what a headache," crying over a stray dog. "So you won't let her finish speaking?" "Let her be quiet, you old witch, Delia. You're the one who should be sad." Mrs. Adrado thought she had misheard. "What did you say?" "I know you despise my origins, but as this child's mother, I cannot tolerate your foul language. That he cries over a puppy. It shows that this child has a kind heart. In comparison, you are not taking the royal title seriously enough, to the point of forgetting the essence of being human. Mrs. Adrado was almost killed by these words. He's killing me. He stared fixedly at Delia with clenched teeth and rage. He would kill her right now if he could. And there's one more thing. The letter that Yuri wrote to me before, I don't know why, but I didn't receive it until yesterday. And before that, someone, on your orders, hid the letter in the storage room. You are the one behind all this. The truth has come to light, little one. I finally know the truth about why my mother wasn't answering me. Oh, what are you saying? Without proof, you dare to slander people. It's no wonder you're from the Baron family. You old witch, you won't regret it till you see the coffin. Delia grabbed her arm. How strange. All the letters Yuri wrote? How can they have the same perfume as you? Mrs. Adolfo, upon being discovered, reacted instantly in an exaggerated way. This is the first time I have been treated in such a rude manner. His Imperial Majesty, Klaus, is my nephew. If he knew you were slandering me like this, what would he do? She had barely finished speaking. A tall figure arrived in the garden. Who has called me? Seeing that it was His Majesty the Emperor, Delia couldn't help but frown. Because Mrs. Alfredo is the Empress, the tutor personally appointed by him. Worried about Dahlia, who is siding with the old witch, she quickly shielded her son behind her. Faced with Dahlia's nervous expression, the old witch had a triumphant expression on her face. Your Imperial Majesty, what is happening here? I only serve the Crown Prince, but I was unfairly harassed. When I am falsely accused, what will become of the future of the small royalty? As she spoke, she snuggled gently against the Emperor's shoulder. This scene was very familiar to Dahlia. When the old witch snatched her son away, she used the same tactic. Dahlia, I'm dying to slap that old witch. I thought the Emperor would do as always. He would take away her worry. But this time, Klaus, unusually, pointed his spear at the old witch. Let go of your hand. The old witch thought she had misheard, and continued to dry her tears. The result was Klaus's cold gaze. I repeat, take your dirty hands off. Everyone present was astonished. They didn't understand what Klaus meant. I had already sent my men to investigate you regarding the matter of the sealed door. While I was on my military campaign, it seems you have been plotting something behind my back. Your Majesty, allow me to explain. I did all this to make the Crown Prince an excellent successor. Faced with the old witch's explanation, Klaus let out a mocking laugh. What a way to educate. Those merciless whippings and the withholding of the prince's letters, also to cultivate him. The old witch trembled. She didn't understand why His Majesty knew so much. Without waiting for her to excuse herself, Klaus feared her death sentence as soon as these words were said. The sky fell for the old witch. She fell directly to the ground. Your Majesty, who says I am your aunt, I beg you to give me another chance. Klaus seemed not to hear her and prepared to leave with his men. After taking a couple of steps, Dahlia stopped him. Majesty, wait. I think executing Lady Ardelia directly is too lenient on him. It would be better to strip him of his current powers and banish him outside the city. What do you think? Klaus wanted to refuse. But seeing his son's expectant gaze, he finally agreed. Thank Her Majesty the Queen. She had barely finished speaking. The old witch crawled to Dahlia's feet, banging her head incessantly. Your Majesty Queen Dahlia, thank you for saving my life. I, Adrado, will offer you my full loyalty. I will be at your disposal, Your Majesty, Dahlia said with a somber face. I am not interceding for you. I am doing it for Yuri. If you die like this, Yuri will think it's his fault. He will blame himself. I don't want to see him like that. Madame Adelaide, have you heard of the Noths of the North, the Caldrash Monastery? I intend to take you there. Upon saying this, regardless of Mrs. Aldrado's pleas, Delia, without turning around, took Yuri from the garden. In the bedroom, Delia continued to comfort her poor son. I'm sorry, my love. Yuli's mommy couldn't save the puppy in time. The understanding child shakes his head. It's not your fault. Although he doesn't know why his mother is apologizing. Sorry. He continues to blame himself for the puppy's death. Suddenly, a bark interrupts his thoughts. He knows that sound very well. It's Lulu, the puppy he takes care of. Excuse the interruption. I have come to bring something to His Highness the Crown Prince. In an instant, Lulu appeared in front of Yuri, seeing his friend after so long. The young man stood up excitedly. Why was he still alive? Your Highness, Due to Lady Artelado's recent uncontrolled behavior, His Majesty the Emperor, I was specifically sent to watch your every move, so I was lucky enough to save this little life. At the same time, His Majesty the Emperor asked me to convey a message to you. Perhaps this is also a kind of destiny. If His Highness the Crown Prince intends to take him in, he can raise him within the city. Upon hearing that he will be able to raise the deer, the child showed a long-awaited smile. Seeing her son so happy, Delia, as a mother, was also very happy. Then she turned her gaze to the man in front of her. John seemed to realize something and immediately apologized with a smile. "Excuse me, Your Majesty, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is John. I am a colonel in the Iruvalia Empire. I hope we get along well." Delia feels with a smile. She remembers that in her previous life, John, he was despised by everyone. Only John treated him like a friend and greeted him with a smile, but he doesn't know since when, and he never saw John again. Thinking about this, Delia decided to ask John for a small favor. It doesn't matter that John is laughing so happily now. The time will come when he will cry. "Could you tell His Majesty for me to entrust me with the prince's education?" The Duke, seemingly cold and dominant, secretly, he is an immature child competing for his son's affection. Seeing his wife constantly playing with his son, he became very jealous. Even the force with which he wrote increased involuntarily. Why doesn't Dahlia play with him? Is he perhaps less important than a dog in her heart? At that moment, John doesn't forget to provoke. To His Majesty, "It's a good thing you sent me to watch Mrs. Aldrado. That dog would already be a pile of bones. You didn't see how she rescued the puppy from the maid's hands. How elegant!" Before John rejoiced for 3 seconds, Klaus looked at him furiously. "Don't be too clever." "But well, Your Majesty, Mrs. Adrado has already been punished." Klaus nods silently. "The Nats Kadrash Monastery has already received her upon hearing that place. I couldn't help but feel a chill. Her style is still as spicy as ever." Her Majesty the Queen recommended the place. As soon as Her Majesty the Queen is mentioned, John feels very bad. As if sensing his subordinate's anomaly, Klaus fixes his gaze on John. "You are hiding something from me." John doesn't dare to hide it, so he had to tell what Her Majesty the Queen told him. He has said everything. Her Majesty the Empress wants all decision-making power in the harem. As soon as he said that, Klaus rejected it without a second thought. Giving her decision-making power in the harem means giving her the right to educate the crown prince. "John, can you guarantee that the Slag family will not take this opportunity to get involved? Perhaps when the opportune moment arrives, they will turn against Arlima. I will never hand over the throne to that man's son." John wanted to intercede for the queen, but the emperor had already written a letter and asked him to deliver it. John was stunned. Him again. Right now, he doesn't know where to hide. Why do you fight and put him in the middle? Why do you involve him? Meanwhile, Delia, who has just bathed the puppy with her son, is resting in a chair. She remembers her son's pure and innocent smile. Delia couldn't help but smile. It seems her relationship with her son has strengthened, but the next second she could no longer laugh. The worry of her previous life. At that time, she had already lost Lulu. She can't imagine the pain he must have endured then, and he didn't realize anything. Now, with what right was she going to enjoy that happiness? Thinking about this, Delia swore inwardly that she would never again allow her son to show that expression of sadness. Perhaps she was too absorbed in her thoughts. For a moment, Dahlia didn't hear the knocks on the door. Upon opening the door, she discovered it was Emma, and behind her hid a small figure, her son. Delia felt her heart melt. It was the first time her son had sought her out on his own initiative. "Dooley, what do you need?" The child blushed and lowered his head. "Mother, madam, mother, I have something to tell you. I'm very sorry for leaving without saying goodbye before. I'm really, really sorry. And also, my mother also helped me calm Lou. I should support my mother, but I haven't done anything. I'm really very sorry." Dahlia thought it was something important. She leaned down and stroked her son's head. "I'm fine. Lulu should also be in the garden at that time. Were you afraid that Lulu would be in danger if they found out? And that's why you ran away? You did the right thing." Seeing that his mother didn't blame him, the child calmed down. "My mother, there's one more thing. Could you look at the flowers with me again?" Faced with her son's invitation, how could Dahlia refuse? Smiling, she hooked her little finger with her son Yuri's. "Even though you carry many important missions on your shoulders, you can only bear them in silence. If only I could. I wish I could help you ease your burden." The child nods silently. At that moment, Emma, who has always been taciturn, speaks suddenly. "Lord Yuri, don't forget to say something." The little boy seemed to suddenly remember something and began searching his bag in a hurry. But he stopped halfway through the search. Dahlia, seeing him, didn't rush him. Instead, she caressed her son's cheek with concern. "Don't worry. If you have something to say it. For example, that Lulu was very active today. That you had a nightmare? That the sky was beautiful. You can tell me anything. I hope you share with me always and at any time. Just hearing your voice makes me very happy." With that said, she took her son's hand. After his mother's comfort, the child's face improved greatly. But in the end, he still hasn't said what he wanted to say. Actually, Delia probably guesses what her son wants to say. Perhaps it is Huang Huiji, single Chuki for 20 years. But he has an incredibly adorable son. Although they share a bed every night, nothing happens. As soon as dawn breaks, my husband disappears. So it's as if I sleep alone. But today is a special day. It's the birthday of my dear son, Yuli. So Delia got up early and together with Emma planned the birthday. Since they had no initial funds, Delia had to pawn a necklace I have kept for years. Emma looks worried. "Your Majesty, are you sure you want to do this? This is the dowry given to you by His Majesty the Emperor. If His Majesty finds out, he will surely be angry." Regarding what Emma said, how could Dahlia not have thought of it? After all, she does not yet have official decision-making power in the harem. And the funds at her disposal are limited. There's no point in keeping something you're not going to use. Before, this necklace always motivated me to play my role as Empress well. But now, even without this support, he can continue firmly. Right, this is for you. Dahlia took out a delicate red lotus brooch, clearly of high value. Emma was about to refuse, but Dahlia interrupts her. "When I saw Yuri, I realized he was especially close to you. Knowing that this child is cared for has reassured me greatly. So accept it as a token of gratitude. Besides, Yuri doesn't like flowers. Put on this flower brooch and he will surely love it," she said, while pinning it on Emma personally, as if she had perceived His Majesty's kindness. Emma felt very guilty. He too was afraid of power and could not protect someone important. Even so, Her Majesty the Queen will be able to forgive him. "Emma, I entrust you with taking care of Yuri from now on." Emma nodded solemnly. "I swear. From now on, I will serve Her Majesty the Queen with all my heart." Dahlia smiled contentedly. Then, the two of them began to think about a gift for Yuri. As Huang Huji's day approached, Emma thought about giving the Empress a shield as a gift. It was a tradition of the royal family. When a child turned 6 years old, their parents bestowed upon them a symbol, the sword and shield of trust and love, to highlight their royal status. I hope the child can fend for himself and contribute to the future of the country. To this end, Emma has especially sought out 2 famous merchants from the capital. "Oh, Your Majesty, you don't know how well the shields are selling lately. There is already a shortage, but for you, I have brought out my greatest treasures. This is the most famous grayish-blue shield in the city. Look at this shield. Do you think it lives up to the splendor of the grayish-yellow people?" Shield had barely appeared. Emma changed color. It's not a fake. Authentic grayish-blue. The shields of royalty have special markings. This one has nothing. It belongs to the small Qiao royalty. Dahlia pretended to think about it. She decided to look at the blonde merchant's shield first to make a decision. The blonde merchant was visibly nervous. He fell to his knees directly on the ground. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty the Empress. My shield is not worthy of His Highness the Crown Prince." "So I already have the answer." The bald merchant rejoices secretly. "Boy, you have some self-awareness. Since you knew you couldn't surpass my shield, you simply gave up." But the next second, Delia made the bald merchant leave, leaving the blonde one wounded. The bald man is confused. He doesn't understand what is happening. "For the Crown Prince, you must have put a lot of effort into choosing these products, right? What a lot of work it cost you. We probably won't see each other again." With that said, she left without looking back, not forgetting to mock the bald merchant. I really don't understand what they are thinking. They can't even clearly see the price of these products. No wonder she is a maid born in the Baron's house. With that said, she turned her gaze to Emma, who was not far away. Seeing that the maid was fair-skinned and clean, the next second she extended her plump hand, "Whom I love, so demanding. You must be very tired too, you better come." "Haven't finished speaking yet." Emma slapped him. "Didn't you hear what Her Majesty the Empress said? She summoned you especially. And you can only offer such miserable products. How useless you are. Please don't appear before Her Majesty the Queen again, so as not to cause nausea." Baldy. The bald merchant seemed stunned by the reprimand. He saw the doors close before his eyes. On the other hand, Emma, back at the palace, immediately bowed before the queen to apologize. "I am very sorry, Your Majesty the Queen. I brought the merchant. Please punish me." Emma closed her eyes tightly, awaiting punishment. But after a long wait, she only received a scare from a doll. Hey, I scared you with so many adorable gifts. Why would I punish you? Before, I only asked you to buy me a gift. Don't worry about the shields, I'll find a way. It is the imperial law that has always remained silent. The merchant spoke suddenly. "Your Majesty the Queen. A few days ago, I saw Duke Strag acquire all the shields in the kingdom, the centerpieces of the shields, getting a shield that fits His Highness the Crown Prince. It won't be easy. Actually, Dahlia already knew this. Duke Stellan did the same in my previous life. Just to embarrass Yuri in the Imperial Archives, so that his son could be the heir to the throne. Okay, I already have an idea about the shield. Don't worry. Since we have the gifts ready, it's time to decorate the place. On the ancient Huang Huiji, I never saw him worried, nor smile. But in this life, I'm going to change all that." The child never imagined that his mother, who had always been cold to him, would suddenly become this kind. Even at his birthday party, he had that gloomy little face. Delia already expected this result, because when John went to pick up Yuri, no one told Yuri that today was his birthday. To give him a surprise, with everyone's applause, the child's expression changed. "Happy birthday, Zoli," and blow out the candles. The child obediently does so, with the candles extinguished. The birthday party officially begins. At first, it is the solemn presentation of gifts. "Yuri, this is a cake I carefully made based on you. These are the toys and other things I prepared for Yuri. These are the immortal flowers I collected." Looking at the mountain of gifts, the child opened his eyes in surprise. "Yuri, happy 6th birthday." But before finishing the sentence, the child lowered his head. Everyone was stunned. They thought Yuri didn't like the gift they had given him. They waited for him to approach to ask them. The little boy quickly shook his head. With his hand, "It's not like that. Actually, it's the first time anyone has celebrated my birthday. But today I haven't finished my schoolwork. I even made a mistake on one. Problem, and I didn't get a good grade on the exercises either. This is too luxurious for me. Can I really have all this?" The child trembled, expressing what he thought. Suddenly, Delia called him. "Yuri, you only got one question wrong. You are amazing." Immediately, a small blue penguin appeared in front of him. "This little penguin is for you. Understand, Yuri, you know, penguins are very loyal to their family and their companions. Now, all these people beside you consider you family. They love you. They worry about you constantly. They are all your companions. I hope that from today onwards, Yuri can be with his loved one and live happily ever after. That's why I made this penguin with my own hands. Would you accept it?" After his mother's advice, the knot in the child's heart finally untied. He hugged the penguin tightly. He finally showed a smile that hadn't been seen in a long time. "Thank you, Mother. I have received the gift. So, Mother, can I stay in today forever?" Seeing that her son had misinterpreted her words, Dahlia hurried to add, "Yuri, one more thing. Penguins are hardworking and diligent creatures. You must also keep moving forward." The child shook his head, pretending to be serious. "I think I don't try hard enough." Before he could finish, the maid Emma interrupted. "To Yuri, what are you saying? You try harder than anyone." John felt, "Yes, you try much harder than I do." "Really? Really, Julie? Then this penguin will be Julie's friend from now on, since the problem is solved. I'm going to continue with the party." The child no longer held back for the rest of the time, totally unleashed. Eating cake and playing cards, playing until late at night. He even dreamed that he was cutting cake for Lulu. Delia watched her sleeping son. He felt his heart melting. He gently tucked her in and closed the door, enduring the pain in his hands. Delia ran a hand over her forehead in frustration. It had been a long time since she had sewn. Sewing a simple penguin and ending up pricking herself so much. "It seems I will have to practice a bit." She remembered that the last time she sewed was in her previous life, when she got married. Her destitute husband back then. He would ask her monthly what she had learned. Perhaps he mistook Klaus's greetings. He mistook it for concern. In her past life, she naively gifted an embroidery to that cold man. In the end, she didn't even have to guess. All she received were 3 cold words. "I don't want it. In the future, please don't waste your time on these useless things." From that day on, she never sewed again. While she was recovering, a familiar face suddenly appeared before her. It can't be such a coincidence. The man slowly approached Delia. "Your Majesty needs something." Before Delia could finish speaking, Klaus lifted her into his arms. Dahlia looked like a frightened rabbit. her eyes wide. "Your Majesty, what are you doing?" While he spoke, Klaus had already rested his forehead against hers. "You have a fever." Dahlia frowned, confused. "Indeed, you are burning up. But what's wrong with this dog today? He doesn't seem like someone who cares about me." "What you have been doing lately? Don't you know that the Huanghui season is about to begin? Indeed, he doesn't care about me. He is only concerned that the Huanghe season will be held smoothly. Lately, I've been sewing. It had been a long time, and my hands are a bit clumsy. So I did a little more at night. Maybe I caught a cold." Right after saying that, Klaus shot her a furious look. "Seamstress, why are you wasting your time on these useless things?" Dahlia was about to die of anger because of that dog, and he still asks me why. "Because today is my son's birthday. You probably think remembering Yuri's birthday is pointless, right? I will strive to recover my health before the Huanghui preseason. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. His Majesty has something more to say." Klaus stops looking at her and coldly gets up to leave. Never mind, we'll talk about it later. Dahlia's stubborn character remained intact. She directly stopped the Emperor, who was about to open the door and leave. "No, I want to hear it right now." Klaus couldn't resist her, so he retraced his steps. "Did you read the letter I sent you earlier through John?" Dahlia pretended to think. John did give her a letter, but it was after the party. She hasn't had time to read it yet. Seeing Dahlia stunned, Klaus repeated the contents of the letter to her. He repeated it. "As you wish, I can give you the decision-making power of the Heron." Dahlia thought she had misheard. She didn't expect His Majesty to give her decision-making power over the Heron so easily, just as she was about to give thanks. Klaus told her not to rejoice too soon. "Although you now have decision-making power over the Heron, I will continue to appoint the Crown Prince's tutor. Do you have any objections?" Dahlia Chun, her hands still unconsciously clutch one of his legs. "Yes, I have an objection. I hope you will hand over all your rights to me, including the right to education. All your rights. You shouldn't have forgotten. Remember what Mrs. Aldrado did. Are you sure the people you have chosen are trustworthy? Have you considered if there are spies from Duke Slater among them? Once you control education, all the demons that plague this country could direct their attacks towards you. And you are nothing more than a defenseless noble. And what ability will the young lady have to face that then?" Although Dahlia understood his meaning, she was still worried that if she didn't educate him well, the unease would cause the tragedy of her past life to happen again. Seeing that Dahlia remained silent, Klaus also lost patience. He directly announced that today's discussion ended there. He wouldn't care what Dahlia said. Dahlia trembled with rage. Finally, she told him what she thought. "Your Majesty, all the plans you have made for Yuri, you have considered them from the position of Emperor. Have you ever considered it from a father's perspective? Have you observed Yuri carefully? As the future king who will bear the weight of the country, the Crown Prince can never be a pawn in your hands." After hearing the Emperor's explanation, Dahlia's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. "That is, he married me to achieve a political goal. And he raised Yuri for the sake of the country's future. Is that true?" Those words seemed to strike a chord with Klaus. He directly left through the door. Actually, Dahlia understood everything in her heart. For His Majesty, Yuri was just a means to protect the country. This was also a loveless marriage. Giving birth to Yuri was nothing more than fulfilling her duties as queen. "Then why did you show in leaving? You put on such a sad expression." In the study on the other side, Klaus is staring intently at the family photo. Right now, he is very confused. Is everything he has done wrong? Klaus had considered it more than once. If he told his wife everything, would she understand? Would she understand how he feels now? A wandering childhood. The pain of losing loved ones. It crushed him like a mountain, leaving him breathless. He still remembers his brother dying in front of him. That feeling of suffocation and helplessness. Klaus wanted to stop his brother's bleeding, but no matter how hard he tried, the blood kept gushing from the wound. Since then, this also became Klaus's nightmare, until later he received the handkerchief that Dahlia had personally sewn for him. He didn't even dare to take it. That day, Klaus came to the training ground, especially to guide his son's training. Faced with this, the little one was like doped up, wielding his sword. With all his might, sweat soaks the clothes of worry. Klaus watches attentively, as if he saw his former self in his son. The subordinate beside him couldn't help but cover his mouth and laugh. His Majesty wasn't completely dedicated to work before, because he suddenly thought of making time to see Prince Yu. He hasn't finished speaking yet. He already feels a chill down his spine. As soon as I turned around, I met Klaus's cold gaze. Shut up. If you say one more word, I'll throw you in the toilet, so you can spend the rest of your life with the toilet. Hearing this, Jan was frightened and decided to shut up while watching Yuri wield his sword. Klaus also discovered his problem. When wielding the sword, one must be at peace. Anxiety prevents clear thinking and exposes one's own weaknesses. They must not forget it. Perhaps Klaus's voice was too serious. The child got distracted, and the sword in his hand directly hit Emma. Good thing it's a wooden sword. Emma is not hurt, right? Sorry? Yuri, Your Highness, I am fine. You don't need to apologize. Yuri, what were you thinking about while practicing? If this were a real sword, Emma would already be dead by your hands. The child did not expect the problem to be so serious. His eyes immediately turned red. He kept bowing and apologizing. Don't worry, Your Majesty Yuri. Failure is the mother of success. Besides, Emma's injuries are not serious. She only needs to go to the infirmary for treatment, and she will recover. With that said, Contact took Emma away, leaving His Majesty and Yuri alone. The child trembled and remained distressed by what had happened. Time passed without him realizing it, until Klaus finally spoke. Yuri, don't forget what you feel now. The fear of losing the people you care about will make you stronger. In an instant, the child seemed to understand something. The shadow in my heart has completely dissipated. Immediately, I gave my father a deep bow. Father, I understand. Klaus nodded with satisfaction. Today's training ends here. Go back to your room. Watching his son's back as he walked away, Klaus felt a great sadness in his heart. But to prevent his son from following in his own footsteps, he could only do that. Klaus was unusually irritable today. He looked at the family photo in his hands. His mind involuntarily evoked the image of Delia again. You married me to achieve your political goals, didn't you? You are raising Yuri for the future of the country. Klaus sighed resignedly. He decided to apologize to Dahlia. But upon arriving at the Queen's quarters, he learned that she had gone out early. Klaus frowned involuntarily. Looking at the downpour through the window, he felt a little worried. So he ordered the servants to prepare the carriage. I'm going to pick up Dahlia. Klaus arrived at his destination late at night. Just as he was about to knock on the door, the girl opened it. Dahlia looked at her husband with a distressed face and frowned. Confused, she didn't understand why he had suddenly appeared there. She was about to ask him what was wrong, but she was interrupted by the shop owner behind her. Miss Dahlia. We have many customers today. Who's next? Clearly seeing the figure at the door, the owner, Hate, was stunned. Your Majesty, the Emperor. Klaus nodded slightly. The next second, he took his wife's hand. Get ready to take her home. But Dahlia told him to wait, Your Majesty. I'm not finished yet. Don't worry, Miss Dahlia. I'll take care of your business. I hate not keeping my word. So you can go back peacefully. You don't have to wait for Prince Yuri. Dahlia, seeing that the owner insisted, obediently left with her husband. Before leaving, Klaus winked at him. Thank you for today. Haidt didn't expect Klaus to say that to him. In reality, the two had known each other for a long time. In fact, he was Klaus's mentor in his childhood. Due to the turbulent situation of the time, the Empire was in constant war. They lived a wandering and precarious life. In an unexpected incident, the enemy attacked their main base. Klaus's brother, to cover their retreat, was seriously wounded by the enemy. So that young Klaus would survive, Haidt had to retreat carrying him. After that, the relationship between the two broke down. So Haidt never saw Klaus again. He didn't expect to be able to serve him again. In the other carriage, Delia was reliving what had just happened. How is it that Klaus, upon arriving, the shop owner Haidt granted her request before he always rejected her? Could it be that they knew each other from before? Well, it doesn't matter. As long as he accepted, it's enough for me. Now that I think about it, this jerk had to sit so close. The seat is already small as it is. Perhaps Dahlia's resentment was too great. Klaus even turned to look him in the eyes. Why did you go to see Haidt today? I wanted to ask him to make the Huanghui shield. After all, the Sword River shield that we bestowed upon Yuri represents the symbol of status granted to him by the royal family. A shield made personally by Captain Haidt. I can definitely protect Uriel. After listening to his wife's explanation, Klaus rolled his eyes. Although the shield that Heito made is quite good, that guy is famous for being a stubborn old man. Delia would surely agree. She originally thought that Captain Heito's stubbornness, harder than a beast's fangs, was just a rumor. She didn't expect it to be true. Klaus didn't answer. Doesn't he know? He saw it with his own eyes when he was a child. But the most important thing is, why has His Highness suddenly come? Problem raised. Klaus, on his own initiative, looked away and decided to remain silent. This infuriated Dahlia. That bad boy is still the same. When he encounters a question he doesn't want to answer, he simply doesn't speak. But the next second, a new set of keys appeared before him. Now that Mrs. Adralato is gone, the key to the door is no longer useful. I better leave it with you for now. Delia frowned doubtfully with the key in her hand. He has come expressly to give me the key. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the palace. And the first thing Klaus did, upon getting out of the carriage, was to help his wife get out. Dahlia found it hard to believe. Was this the bad boy I knew? How had he suddenly become so considerate? With the approach of the Huanghui festival, everyone in the royal palace was busy with their duties, fearing to make the slightest mistake. Even Yuri was no exception, while John, as always, was full of energy. Your Majesty, Yuri, you will finally present yourself before everyone. It is a day worth celebrating. Behind this door, there are thousands and thousands of people, awaiting the brilliant appearance of His Highness Yuri. Before finishing the sentence, the little boy was petrified with fear. Emma couldn't take it anymore, and decided to intervene. Colonel John, could you be quiet? Don't you see that you are making Princess Yuri even more nervous? At that moment, Delia was drawn by the commotion. Upon seeing her mother, the child regained energy. That mother. What if I fail at Huanghuiji? What would I do? Dahlia pretended to think. If something like that were to happen, then you get up again. The child was frightened by his mother's words. He thought it was the sacred Huanghuiji. How could it go wrong? In fact, I've already heard everything. You accidentally hurt Emma during training. What you were thinking at that moment. I felt very guilty. So Yuri, look at Emma's expression now while you were talking. Emma also smiled and raised her right hand, Your Highness Yuri. I have already fully recovered. I have received all your concern, but seeing your low spirits makes me even sadder. Worried. Faced with failure, reflection is the inevitable path to success. But failure doesn't mean the world is collapsing. There will surely be more opportunities in the future. Besides, no one starts out doing things perfectly. The important thing is to learn from mistakes and keep improving. Faced with everyone's encouragement, the child gradually regains confidence. At that moment, Klaus entered to inform everyone that it was almost time. While making a sign to the butler, the story of Huang Hui officially began. He was the coldest and most ruthless tyrant in the entire novel, but she conquered him until he became someone who only asked for kisses and was a beautiful, submissive young man. Cold and ruthless on the outside, with overflowing combat strength, but in private, charming and affectionate. With the opening of his son's story, Huang Hui, Klaus also went on stage formally dressed. Today, many members of royalty and nobility gathered at the palace to see if the young Prince Yuri could inherit his father's mantle, just as they supposed. Prince Yuri's demeanor was exactly the same as that of the young Emperor Klaus. Only his hair color was inherited from Her Majesty the Queen. Everyone was quite displeased with that. Indeed, the habit doesn't make the monk. Look how proud he is now. Who doesn't know? Before, she was just a useless maid from a baron's family. If it weren't for His Majesty the Emperor, she wouldn't have her current position. Before they could say more, and the Emperor looked at them coldly. Faced with this, no one dared to say anything. Everyone bowed to celebrate Princess Yuri's birthday. Throughout the celebration, Delia was observing her child's every move. Although Yuri seemed somewhat nervous, she was sure that, in the future, more people would recognize her son's identity. Perhaps he felt his mother's burning gaze. The child gave his mother a radiant smile. In an instant, Delia felt her heart melt. At the same time, the butler informed His Majesty the Emperor that he should prepare for the next act. And shortly after Klaus left, suddenly, an unexpected guest appeared in the Great Hall. It was someone Klaus knew, Duke Strag, who was vying for the throne. Your Royal Highness, the Prince, it is an honor to attend your celebration. Seeing you now, I can't help but remember R. Lucas, the first time he attended a formal event. Compared to then, he simply hasn't progressed at all. And even less so compared to you now. He says, not forgetting to pat his son, I'm sorry, Your Highness. Father, he always likes to talk about me, that I started practicing with a real sword at the age of 5, fencing. He uses it as a joke to make fun of me. They said that if it were an exceptional member of royalty, they would already be able to wield a real sword at the age of 5. Of course, His Highness the Crown Prince must be practicing with a real sword now, right? Seeing that the Crown Prince said nothing, Duke Strag couldn't help but give a malicious smile. Afterwards, he didn't forget to lecture his son, saying, "Lucas, don't you see that His Highness the Prince is worried?" Yes, Her Majesty the Queen. "I have heard that Mrs. Aldrado has already left the castle. I suppose she must have found a more suitable or responsible educator. If possible, could you recommend someone for my son?" After everything that happened, Dahlia understood. Duke Strag didn't come to the celebration today, but to pick a fight. Dahlia didn't hold back, but smiling, she suggested that he look for a suitable tutor for him. She meant that the education of your family and Yuli's are not even on the same level. After hearing that response, Duke Strag only let out a cold smile. Finally, the conversation ended with a few polite words. After this small incident, the most important moment of the Huanghuiji ceremony arrived. The parents bestowed upon Yuli the swords and shield, symbols of trust and love. First, it was the sword that Emperor Klaus bestowed as a symbol of trust. The sword presentation ceremony went smoothly, but when it was Dahlia's turn, they discovered that the shield prepared for Yuri had disappeared. The servants searched everywhere, but found no trace of the shield. Just when everyone thought it was all over, Dahlia remained very calm. As expected, the shield had been stolen. She still remembered. In her previous life, due to Duke Strag's mass purchases, there were almost no shields left in the country. Finally, she had to buy them in a neighboring country, but it was lost in transit to the prince. The ceremony was about to be ruined. Suddenly, Mrs. Alfredo appeared out of nowhere with a low-quality shield and insisted that he carry it. At that moment, he thought about resisting, but so as not to ruin the Huanghui plan, he had to go on stage reluctantly. Since that incident, the gap between him and Yuri widened even further. Since then, he has also been trying to find the thief, but the culprit seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. There was no trace of him. Would history repeat itself this time? Seeing that Her Majesty the Queen was about to appear, the maid Emma thought about searching once more, but Dahlia stopped her. "It's okay, leave the rest to me." From the moment she set foot in the main hall, everyone was curious, not understanding. Why didn't Her Majesty the Queen pick anything up? Could it be that she doesn't love His Highness the Crown Prince? Although the comments were not loud, but a small part did reach Uriel, perhaps seeing his son's worry. Dahlia personally comforted him. "My dear Uriel, it's okay. Trust Mom." Just then, the door burst open. The newcomer was Ilu, the greatest hero of the Valeria Empire, Knight Hate. "Sorry for the wait. It seems I arrived just in time." Saying this, he knelt before Her Majesty the Queen. Everyone was bewildered by Knight Hate's action, not understanding what he intended to do. The next second, a completely new shield appeared before everyone. "Here, I present this shield to Your Majesty the Empress, to express my loyalty to the Crown Prince." After the handover ceremony, Huanghuiji comes to an end. Everyone is happy to witness this historic moment and joyful. Only Duke Strag has a frown. Upon leaving the Great Hall, Duke Strag is leaving now. Something unpleasant has happened. Seeing His Majesty the Emperor, Duke Strag's expression changed instantly. How could it be? In fact, being able to witness the gallantry of His Highness the Crown Prince fills me with joy. But the most surprising thing is, the son of His Imperial Majesty, the feared Emperor, has received the favor of the hero of the Empire. Faced with Duke Strag's provocation, Klaus only let out a mocking laugh. "Yes, at least we, unlike certain low-bloods, we don't resort to such vile methods as theft." Upon being discovered, Duke Strag remained unfazed and continued to play dumb. "Your Majesty, I don't understand what you are talking about. I'm very sorry, I have to leave, but my son will stay for the dance. Nice to meet you." Watching Duke Strag's back as he walked away, Clow remained silent. Meanwhile, Dahlia remained worried about the matter of the squadron, although she knew that the theft of the shield was undoubtedly the work of Duke Strag. He left no trace whatsoever. He cannot be condemned for this. But it's okay, the shield handover ceremony was successfully completed later, just as Dahlia breathed a sigh of relief about this. Yuri suddenly poked his little head out. "Mother, thank you very much for giving me such a beautiful shield." Seeing that her son liked it, Delilah was also happy. Her smile was radiant. The little one couldn't help but blush. Every time he saw his mother's smile, he felt a warmth in his chest. Could it be that Mom is a bad person? Delilah nodded, smiling, and then she hugged Yuri. I didn't expect you to find out. Then I'll do a little more magic for you. Don't you think this garden is beautiful? Magic that warms the heart. Yuri can learn it too. Every time I feel happy, the magic activates automatically. While I talk to Yuri, and also feel warmth in my heart. The child opened his eyes in amazement. He didn't expect that the heart-warming magic was so simple. Well, it's late. We must go back. I heard there's a ball tonight. Upon hearing about the ball, the child became nervous. Mother, could you dance with me? The Vinegar Duke became jealous again, and the object of his jealousy will be his own son. When he learned that his wife's first dance was not appropriate for him but for his son, the Duke became furious. Why don't you choose him if he has rejected other girls? Isn't his attire today elegant enough? Compared to the Duke's anxiety, his son seems particularly calm. Soon I'll be able to dance with my mother. I'm so looking forward to it. Before the child could think any further, a cold voice interrupted his thoughts. Oh dear. Isn't that the Crown Prince? Why is he all alone here, lost in thought? You seem bored. Want to go for a walk with me? I actually have something to ask the Crown Prince. Seeing that it was Duke Strag's son, Lucas felt a certain resistance. Without waiting for the child to refuse, Lucas grabbed his hand and pulled him away. And his unusual actions were observed by Klaus from the other side. For his son's safety, he decided to follow them. After all, he was Duke Strag's son. Who knows what they were plotting? When I arrived at the garden, I heard Lucas harassing Yuri. Nightheight said before retiring that he wouldn't accept any more disciples in his life, and his blacksmith shop only accepts repair-related jobs. And he won't forge a shield for anyone upon request. But why you specifically? Could it be that in the end, even heroes bow down to power? Seeing that Lucas had misunderstood him, Yuri wanted to explain himself, but the other one shouted at him to shut up. Then why won't Knight Heath forge a shield for me? I've asked him for so long if you didn't exist. That shield, the next Imperial throne, will also be mine. I wish you hadn't been born, someone like you. Although Lucas's voice was low. It was heard by Klaus, who was hiding in a corner, just as he was about to intervene to stop the spectacle. His son's next words left him paralyzed. In fact, I think the same. I thought, Lucas, you are taller than me, stronger. Your studies are also constantly improving. I have always been afraid to compare myself to you. But Lucas, when you dragged me just now, your strength hurt me a little. Lucas is speechless. You're complaining. The child frantically shakes his head. No, I've noticed many blisters on your hand. That means you must have practiced many times, right? You are truly amazing. It's the first time Lucas has received such an evaluation. His face flushed instantly. Later, he even had trouble speaking fluently. Wei, why am I not happy that you praised me? Well, never mind, being royalty. Don't apologize to others so easily. How foolish. When I get my father's permission, I will show you my fencing. With that said, he left without looking back. Watching Lucas's back as he walked away, Yuri stood there deep in thought, until his father appeared. Then the little one came back to his senses. Father, I am very sorry. I did not obtain your permission and went out without your authorization. I am very sorry. It's different than before. This time, Klaus did not criticize him. He only gently stroked his little head. Come back, the dance is about to begin. The child nodded obediently. Father, Mother has returned. Mother promised to be my dance partner. She went to change clothes. She is still waiting for him, not even to see his father. The child thought about going to look for his mother first, but Klaus stopped him abruptly. As today's protagonist, you should stay within the premises. I will go look for your mother. Meanwhile, Delia, in her dressing room, looked at herself in the mirror with frustration. Only the buttons in the back are missing. But I can't reach. What am I going to do? Emma must be busy now, and there are no servants nearby. How inconvenient. Suddenly, she remembered the housekeeper. Why not go look for her? Try it, but she barely opened the door. She ran right into Klaus. This unexpected, intimate contact disconcerted both of them. Both looked away, deeply apologetic. Yuri sent me. He was worried because he saw you hadn't returned. Dahlia hears nothing now. She only thinks about Klaus leaving soon. Okay, I'll change and go right away. And Klaus, outside, isn't much better. Now he only thinks about his wife. To hide the awkwardness, he walked away from the console but barely made it halfway. His wife, peeking out, called him back. If you don't mind, could you help me button up my dress? I don't want Worry to wait too long. For Klaus, a very direct man, it was the first time he had buttoned anything up for a girl, so the process was slower. She has no entourage to accompany her. Dahlia nods. His Majesty is on distant campaigns all year round. Perhaps he is not very aware of the affairs of the harem. Since my first marriage, I have always taken care of myself. I have no staff to attend to me, faced with his wife's response. Klaus frowned involuntarily. Because you are the queen. At least, you should have 1 or 2 servants by your side. It seems His Majesty really knows nothing about this matter. Dahlia didn't want to give too many explanations. Now she only wanted to dance with her beloved Yuri. She barely arrived at the ceremony. The little one came running towards with the sound of the cheerful music. Yuri attended his first dance, always. It has been my mother who has pushed me forward, but today I will be the one to guide my mother. Seeing how quickly her son has grown, Dahlia, as a mother, was also happy. Until now. She still remembered little Yuri. She couldn't believe that in the blink of an eye, he had become so mature. What surprised Dahlia the most were her son's skillful dance steps, which didn't seem like those of someone attending a dance for the first time. Yuri, when did you start practicing dancing? The child is a bit shy, he keeps his head down. It was after my last birthday party. I especially asked Emma to teach me. I thought I could dance with my mother. I see. Your excellent performance, Huang Hui. Would you like to go for a walk in the flower fields tomorrow? As soon as he heard that, we would go to the flower fields. The little boy was delighted. He kept nodding. The dance lasted until very late. Perhaps he was tired from dancing. The little one fell asleep right away, looking at her son's adorable appearance. Dahlia's heart melted, seeing her son sleeping so soundly. He also decided to rest early. But who would have imagined that upon leaving Yuri's room? He ran straight into Klaus with a frown. Without waiting for Dahlia's luggage, Klaus grabbed him and pulled him in front of her, and asked her why he had received that treatment. Dahlia was completely disoriented. I don't understand what's wrong with this dog. I just want to leave here as soon as possible. Your Majesty, the celebration of Glory Day has also ended. You don't have to depart for the expedition tomorrow. You better go back to your room to rest. Faced with his wife's response, the face. Klaus's face darkened even more. Don't change the subject. Do you know what I'm asking you? For a moment, many bad memories flooded Dahlia's mind. I don't know which of all those things you are referring to. For me, all this is just routine. After saying this, she forcefully broke free from Klaus's hand. Prepare to leave. Klaus doesn't give up. He asks where the necklace he gave you before is. If those nobles knew that that necklace was a gift from me, they should restrain themselves a bit. I originally wanted to say something else. But when he heard that his wife sold the necklace he had given her, then he couldn't say anything more. I'm sorry for selling your gift without permission, but I don't belong in this place. And besides, I have no money, it's just a necklace. Please forgive me for selling it like that. Upon hearing those words, Klaus's heart broke, but he still contained his emotions and asked the final question. Do you have plans for tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm meeting Yuri to go to a field of flowers. I see. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. With that said, he left without looking back. Observing Klaus's back as he walked away, Dahlia had an expression of confusion. I don't understand what's wrong with this man today. The Duke, seemingly cold and dominant, secretly competes with his son for affection. To improve the relationship with his wife, he shamelessly joined the mother-son flower gathering. Although he doesn't say a word, he always secretly looks at his wife, and this strange behavior, which also aroused Dahlia's discontent. Does this guy have a problem with his eyes? Why does he keep looking sideways at people? Your Majesty, isn't today your departure day for the expedition? How do you have time to come to this garden? The expedition has been postponed until today. I just came for a walk. Faced with Klaus's simple answer, Dahlia remained silent. He's still the same rogue I knew. He didn't used to spend all his time in the study. What's wrong with him today? Before Dahlia could think any further, from afar Yuri ran towards him. Mother, I have something for you. With that said, he took out a bouquet of flowers from behind him and handed it to his mother. Dahlia opened her eyes in surprise. Yuri, you made this? What skillful hands you have. The little one blushed upon receiving the compliments. Actually, this is only a half-finished product. Now I'm going to do magic for you. Dahlia was confused. She didn't understand if her son knew how to use magic, as she didn't know. Next, she saw Yuri slowly open the palms of his hands. With a movement of his hands, countless petals fell from the sky, illuminating the bouquet, making it very beautiful. I hope my dear mother will also feel comforted. Hearing this, Dahlia remembered that she had taught her son that magic in Huang Weiji. He, with a face full of affection, stroked his son's little head. Our worry magic is really powerful. I feel a great warmth in my heart now. They didn't give mother and son much time to enjoy their joy, because Lulu's voice in the distance distracted them. It would have been better not to look. Just seeing her made them both freeze. Lulu was wagging her tail, placing a bouquet of carved flowers in front of the Duke. That way of wagging her tail, she was clearly asking Klaus if he liked it. Mother and son thought it was all over, based on Klaus's personality. We shouldn't scare the dog away, but surprisingly, Klaus even picked up the flowers from the ground to prevent the situation from worsening. Yuri, while his father picked up the flowers, quickly took Lulu and fled the scene. This left Klaus, who had just picked up the flowers, completely bewildered, looking at the flower in his hand. Finally, he couldn't contain himself and asked his wife about the previous magic. Actually, it was a metaphor. I wanted to tell him that those acts capable of moving people instantly are as if magic is being done. I hoped this metaphor would cheer Yuri up a bit. Hearing this, Klaus silently put the flowers in his pocket. The sky today is especially beautiful. It had been a long time since Dahlia had seen such an expansive sky, and it seemed like the first time they had gone for a walk together as a family. Since the sealed door opened, many things have changed. Will this life of his— Come closer, Yuri. Stop showing that sad expression. Dahlia pondered for a long time, until the Duke's voice interrupted her. Accept it. Looking at the diamond ring in the river, Dahlia couldn't help but be stunned. This ring has an angel ruby. It is said that it is only found in the depths of the northern mines, a very rare gem, and this type of gem, only royalty has the right to extract it. Dahlia was incredulous. She didn't understand Klaus. Why give her such a valuable jewel? Seeing that his wife didn't take the box, Klaus thought she didn't like it. I had it brought from the north last night. Any noble, unless they're a complete idiot, upon seeing this jewel, will recognize its place. Saying this, he offered the ring again. Klaus did it himself. Dahlia was moved. If you put it that way, even less can I accept it. It's too valuable. I don't deserve it, but you are the queen. Faced with Klaus's response, Dahlia couldn't help but blush. She thought, this rogue understands nothing. Immediately, she stopped refusing and accepted it with pleasure. Aren't you afraid I'll sell this diamond ring too? You can do whatever you want. Barely had Klaus finished speaking. A subordinate came running very agitated, shouting, Your Majesty, there is something you need to confirm. Faced with this, Klaus could only get up resignedly. He left with an expressionless face, and shortly after his departure, Dahlia took out the diamond ring again and examined it carefully once more. In her previous life, he still stubbornly clung to that one necklace. In the end, what an irony. But on second thought, I should really sell this diamond ring. After thinking about it for a while, she dismissed the idea. Better to wait a bit, maybe that bad guy will go back on his word again. So she called Emma to store it in her room first. But when she finished giving instructions, looking up, she discovered that the distant worry had disappeared. She remembered that her son was standing right in front of her. No, how is it possible that he disappeared in the blink of an eye? Meanwhile, Yuri, who was looking for flowers elsewhere, finally found a bouquet on the other bank of the river, red roses. Is he ready to give this bouquet to his father, thinking that his father will love it? Before leaving, he didn't forget to look at his reflection in the river. But upon getting up, without realizing it, his body leaned backward, and this dangerous scene. Just when Dahlia, who was looking for Yuri, saw him, she saw him quickly dodge and grab her son's arm, but due to the urgency of the situation, after throwing her son to the shore, he himself fell into the river. Dahlia struggled desperately in the river, but because of the clothes she was wearing, it was very difficult for her to swim in the river. Little by little, her consciousness became increasingly blurred. Her body felt heavier and heavier. Dahlia was desperate. Was she going to die like this? She strongly protected the girl, begging her to leave soon. And Dahlia, shortly before, had fallen to the bottom of the lake to save her son. Just when she thought it was all over, vaguely she heard her son's call. When she opened her eyes again, she had returned to her past life. Looking at her grown and worried son, Dahlia remained stunned. She couldn't believe that she had really returned, or had everything before been a dream. While Dahlia pondered, father and son have already begun the duel. Amidst the gleam of the swords, Yuri clearly begins to falter. As Klaus increases his strength, Yuri, due to a moment of carelessness, finally shows an opening, just when Klaus raises his sword, prepared to strike Yuri a fatal blow. But his movement stopped abruptly, in just an instant. Yuri seized the opportunity and plunged his sword into his chest. Father, as expected, you couldn't do it. This is the scene. It felt very familiar to Dahlia, but all of that were memories of the past. Why do we have to start over? Suddenly, Dahlia seemed to remember something. When Yuri attacked earlier, there seemed to be a black shadow on his sword. Before Dahlia could look around, her body began to turn transparent. How was it possible? Suddenly, she saw something out of the corner of her eye on the ground. Klaus, struggling in pain, and it looked like he was shouting his own name. Before Dahlia could understand what he was saying, she was brought back to reality, seeing that his mother had woken up. The little one was the first to run to hug him. "Mother, you've finally woken up. I'm sorry, it's all my fault." Dahlia, seeing her son cry so much, felt heartbroken. Instantly, she tenderly wiped the tears from her son's eyes. "Yuri, I'm fine. Look, I've already woken up." Meanwhile, Klaus remained worried and had the butler call a doctor. Let's wait for him to finish giving his instructions. As soon as he looked up, he met his wife's curious gaze. Perhaps he didn't want his wife to notice what he was thinking. Klaus casually turned his head. "Queen, how are you feeling?" Upon hearing that title, Dahlia felt somewhat stunned. Not even in her previous life, or even in this life. Klaus had never called her by her name, he always called her Queen. So why in the previous memories did he call me Dahlia? And I always feel like something is missing. Could it be because I was too focused on what was in front of me? At that moment, before Yuri did anything, his sword reflected a figure. By the silhouette, it seems to be Lucas as an adult. The more Dahlia thought about it, the more scared she felt. Her body wouldn't stop trembling. In her previous life, Lucas always considered the next throne as his own. And furthermore, he maintained an adverse political relationship with Yuri. But why is he with Yuri? She remained absorbed in her thoughts. When a hand grabbed her wrist, "Mother, it's okay." Dahlia waved her hands nervously, indicating that she was fine. She has already recovered. Seeing that his wife really didn't have anything serious, Klaus didn't stay long either. After a simple farewell, he continued his expedition, and in the time that followed, Dahlia learned from her son that Klaus, on his way to the expedition, was just passing by the garden and was able to save him in time. Hearing this, Dahlia was very moved and changed her opinion of that bad boy. Meanwhile, in a luxurious mansion, Duke Strag stared intently at his son with fury. "Let's see if you dare repeat what you just said." Lucas was startled, but gathering his courage, he repeated what he had said before. "Please allow me to observe His Highness the Crown Prince's fencing practice. I just wanted to mock his terrible fencing." How could Duke Strag not realize his son's clumsy lie? What could he be thinking? He just wants to befriend that useless crown prince, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. "All right, I give you permission, then go and get ready quickly." Faced with his father's strange attitude, Lucas doesn't dare to stay any longer. He feared that his father would regret it the next second. Shortly after Lucas left, Duke Strag couldn't contain himself any longer and began to laugh like a madman. "I am a genius," I thought of such a wonderful plan. To have Lucas and the Crown Prince establish a good relationship and then create a rift between their friendship. By then, I will definitely make that useless Crown Prince fall into an abyss of self-destruction, and then I will have my son take the throne. "Klaus, prepare for my attack. You will see how I trample you." And on the other hand, Lucas obviously doesn't know about his father's conspiracy. He arrived at the palace, skipping and hopping. After finding the Crown Prince's room, ignoring the threatening warnings, he entered directly, interrupting the weak Crown Prince. Seeing that it was Lucas who had arrived, the little one was a bit stunned. "Lucas, how did you suddenly come here? Of course you don't remember anything. I didn't tell you before that I was going to teach you how to use a sword." But he had barely started speaking when he noticed Her Majesty the Queen in bed. The next second, Lucas dragged a servant, and they fled the scene. Her Majesty the Queen was in the prince's room. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Marrying was a real injustice, I told you." But at that moment, you weren't listening to anything. Recognize his own problems. Lucas didn't pressure him any further either. Then, he turned towards Her Majesty the Queen in bed. He gave a deep bow. "Your Majesty the Queen, I am very sorry. It was not my intention to interrupt your rest. Excuse me." Seeing the polite young man in front of her, Dahlia felt a bit stunned. In her memory, Lucas had a completely different attitude than before. Why would he come looking for Yuri now? For so long, Lucas has not always considered Yuri a rival. Before Dahlia could think any further, Yuri, from under the bed, interrupted. "His mother. Lucas and I met at the Manhwa restaurant. Today he came to talk to me about fencing. So mother, can I practice fencing with Lucas before the attack of his son's tenderness?" Dahlia offered no resistance. She immediately agreed. But she had an additional request. He must be present when he practices fencing. Although she thinks Lucas doesn't have any major problems. After all, he is the Duke's son. Besides, because of the dream she had before coming, she has to watch him closely. In the fencing training grounds, the two little ones face each other with all their might. At first, both fought equally, but then they lost it. In a moment of carelessness, he fell to the ground. This scene scared Delia. Just as she was going to help her son, she saw that Lucas was already in front of her son. "You haven't hurt yourself. What a clumsy fellow." With that said, he extended his hand and helped Yuri up. Dahlia was relieved to see that Lucas hadn't harmed Yuri. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. Immediately afterwards, she realized that she was too tense. Before, she had worried too much about her family and her past, but she had never really gotten to know Lucas as a person, his way of acting. He will not become equal to the nobility who only focus on origin. Thinking about this, Delia lowered her head shyly. He doesn't want the future to repeat itself, so just him paying more attention and taking more action is not enough. At that moment, Emma, with the tea prepared, arrived at the fencing grounds. "Your Majesty the Queen, I heard that His Highness the Prince will be able to participate in the Sacred Sword Tournament this year." Hearing about the Sacred Sword Tournament, Delisle was stunned. How could she have forgotten about this? The reason why the Iruvaria Empire is so glorious. It is because it possesses an unparalleled reserve of power, therefore, to maintain this power. The Empire holds festivals periodically to show its power to the goddess of victory. If Lucas participates in the Holy Swordsman Tournament, the Duke will also be present without fail. To protect those children, she must be aware of their movements at all times. It is easy to imagine that after winning the Champions Festival, he will have to dedicate the glory of victory to the woman closest to him. Delia gets a headache just thinking about it. Klaus also participated the previous time, and, as expected, he won the tournament. Just when everyone thought His Majesty would offer the victory to the Queen, no one imagined that he would offer it to the country. That always hurt Dahlia deeply, although she doesn't care anymore. If she had to hear that again, she still feels a little bad. If His Majesty knew that they were looking down on him behind his back, he would be very angry. Meanwhile, on the expedition's battlefield, Klaus had already gathered his troops so that he could see his wife soon. He ordered his subordinates to achieve a swift victory. Just as he expected, a week after his departure, the troops returned to the city ahead of schedule. But due to his tight work schedule, he hadn't had time to see his wife. How is the Queen now? The doctor says she needs to continue resting. It seems Her Majesty the Queen still hasn't regained her appetite. But something extraordinary has happened. During His Highness Yuri's first preparation for the Sacred Chamber, Her Majesty the Queen was by his side at all times. Perhaps this is what people call maternal love. Hearing this, Klaus put down his pen. He immediately got up to go look for his wife. John, looking at the mountain of documents on the table, frowned. "And His Majesty the Emperor, what do I do with these files?" "I trust you can take care of this," because of Klaus's praise. John felt as if he had been injected with energy. He made an okay gesture. "Don't worry, leave it all to me." On the other hand, Klaus found his wife on the training grounds. Dahlia felt flattered and didn't understand what that rogue wanted from her. While she was thinking, her gaze was drawn to the delicious food on the table. Dahlia couldn't resist and tried a bite. The flavor was truly special. Had His Majesty prepared it especially for her? Seeing that his wife liked it, Klaus's cold heart softened a little. The worrying training sessions are still going well. Very well. He is training hard for the Holy Swordsman Tournament. Your Majesty will also participate, right? I'll cheer you on. Klaus didn't respond. You've been staring at it. Actually, you don't need to participate in the Holy Swordsman Tournament. After those words, Dahlia's face darkened. She didn't understand what nonsense that rogue was saying. Why do you say that? Because a few days ago, you were unconscious in bed. That's not a problem. Thanks to Your Majesty's help, my body has recovered. Well, I thought that by telling him that, Klaus would change his absurd idea. But who would have thought that he would continue shaking his head? Your Majesty, if there is no valid reason, I beg your pardon, I cannot obey. Seeing that he couldn't persuade his wife, Klaus's face darkened even more. Do you know what happened the day you fell into the water? When I pulled you out of the water, you had stopped breathing. You had no pulse. After what had just happened, how could you recover so quickly as to realize that you were wrong about Klaus? Dahlia felt full of guilt. I'm very sorry for causing you so much trouble. Yoli knows about this. Klaus shakes his head. Dahlia breathes a sigh of relief. I don't want to see Yoli sad because of me again. Thank you very much indeed. But still, I hope your majesty will allow me to participate in the festival. Before the competition starts, I will take care of my health as the doctor told me. So please. Klaus had never seen anyone so stubborn. He really doesn't care about his health even a little bit. Seeing that he couldn't convince his wife, Klaus could only accept with resignation. But this time, you also have to accept my conditions. If he wins in the Holy Swordsman tournament, you will have to spend a day with me. Delia frowned. I don't understand what he's plotting. Brat. What mischief is he up to? Because it seems I don't understand anything. Of Klaus's response, she froze. She didn't expect him to remember what she had said before in Huanghuiji. As the Holy Swordsman Tournament is the most important event in the Empire, people came from all over the city that day. To witness the bravery of His Majesty the Emperor, the Holy Swordsman competition is divided into fencing, equestrianism, and fencing. Klaus participates in equestrianism, and Yuri in fencing. First round. Colonel Johann against His Majesty Klaus. The audience is euphoric, madly cheering on their competitors. I thought the equestrian duel between Colonel John and His Majesty Klaus would be exciting, but John lost without lasting even a round. It's over. How can I face my dear nephew? And in the following competitions, Klaus, with his unsurpassed sword skills, advanced to the final without any problems. His Majesty Yusi's battle was too spectacular. It left most of the spectators hoarse. And among them, there was a special presence. That was Daly. Because of the previous competitions, she could already guess the end of this last competition. But thinking about what he had planned after his victory, I am very confused before I could clear my thoughts. The presenter began the pre-match introduction. This time, we will have our Colonel Doris of the Knights of Count Raymond against His Majesty Klaus. As soon as she heard that name, Dahlia was stunned. She remembered that that name did not appear on the previous list of participants. What was happening? Suddenly, Dahlia seemed to remember something. Could it be one of the Duke's men? Indeed. Before the competition began, that man kept looking at Duke Strag before Delia could think much more. The competition began. At first, the sword skills of both were equal, but as Klaus increased the strength in his hand, Doris's sword was broken in one blow. Just when everyone thought Dora would surrender. Who would have imagined that this guy would go crazy? Taking advantage of a moment of carelessness, he cut Klaus's hand that was holding the lance. For a moment, the horse went out of control, no matter how much the referee asked to stop the competition. Doris had no intention of stopping. He wanted to end Klaus's life. At the critical moment, Klaus stepped on the stool in time, and with the sword in his right hand, prevented Doris's plot from succeeding. With the referee's announcement declaring His Majesty Klaus the winner, the entire stadium was instantly flooded with applause and cheers. The dangerous scene before had quite scared the mother and son in the stands. They still hadn't recovered. Amidst the cheers and joy of the public, the host asked again, the same question as in the past life. Your Majesty, to whom do you intend to dedicate the victory? As soon as these words were spoken, Dahlia, on the stage, couldn't help but lose her concentration. As expected, what had to happen, happened. It doesn't matter anymore. Let him say whatever he wants. Just as Dahlia was preparing herself, after facing the strange looks of the audience, who would have thought that Klaus this time would dedicate the victory to him? At first, Dahlia thought she had misheard, but when everyone's gazes on the field turned towards her, Dahlia was completely stunned. Although she didn't know what was wrong with His Majesty. But from his current gaze, I can see that I am there. If in the previous life, you hadn't told me that my mission was over, that I shouldn't keep Yuri away from my side, I would be the happiest now, without giving Dahlia time to think further. The time for the competition that worried her son arrived. Mother, this time I will dedicate the victory to you. I will make Mother the goddess of victory. Delia was delighted with her son's promise. Before leaving, he didn't forget to warn her. Be careful in the competition. It doesn't matter if you win or not. The important thing is that you protect yourself. The little one nodded obediently. At that moment, Klaus, who had just finished his competition, also went up. Seeing him, Delia thanked him for what had happened. Your Majesty, I sincerely congratulate you on your victory. Your performance in the equestrian competition was magnificent. Despite Delia's many words, Klaus remained as cold as ever. After saying he had a reason not to lose, he didn't yield. Dahlia understood what he meant. He cannot lose. To show his dignity as emperor. Faced with his wife's understanding, Klaus couldn't help but roll his eyes. Clearly, he did it to fulfill the promise he made that day in the garden. Did he think about it that much? Without waiting for the two of them to say anything else, Yuri's first fencing competition began. Just like His Majesty, Yuri's competition also went very well. He quickly reached the final, and the opponent in the final is his old friend Duquesne. Seeing this, Dahlia clenched her fists involuntarily. She remembered that in the previous life, Yuri lost to Lucas. And back then, because she was busy with her own affairs, she couldn't be by Yuri's side to ease his frustration. She didn't even say a word of encouragement to him, but it made her feel guilty. And this will never allow it to happen again. So Delia got up directly, completely ignoring the strange looks, and shouted, "Let's go!" to her son on the field. Perhaps feeling his mother's affection, the little one tried harder in the next round. He fiercely attacked Lucas directly. The combat between the two was very intense. Lucas, in the end, felt that he too was a bit overwhelmed. Fortunately, he is a year older than Yuri. Thanks to his final perseverance, he deflected Yuri's sword out of the field. End of combat. Lucas is the victor. But when the referee asked Lucas to whom he wanted to dedicate his victory, Lucas immediately looked towards his father in the stands. But his father's cold gaze left Lucas speechless. Meanwhile, Dahlia was already thinking about how to cheer Julian up, but after waiting for a long time she didn't see her son. This made Dahlia feel a slight unease. She thought it would be better to go look for him. Finally, in a corner of the restroom, she found poor Julian facing an adorable little girl sobbing. What mother could resist comforting her? After losing in the fencing competition, the little one hid alone in the restroom, wiping away hidden tears, thinking about all the help his mother had given him, and that he hadn't been able to do anything. Then what is the point of his existence? Until now, he still remembers what Mrs. Adroletto told him. You were born to be a crown prince who gives his all. A useless member of royalty will only add burden to this country. And now he has achieved nothing. Will my mother be ashamed of him? Thinking about that made the little one cry even more disconsolately. Fortunately, Dahlia heard the crying and came to see what was happening. My mother has come. The little one hurriedly wiped away his tears, forced a smile, and went to his mother and said, "I'm sorry, mother, I lost the competition." He hadn't even finished speaking when Dahlia hugged him tightly. "Yuri, you made a great effort. You were very brave in the competition." The little one is confused. He doesn't understand why his mother is praising him when he clearly lost the competition. Before the little one could understand, Dahlia noticed the blood on his knee. "Yuli, did you get hurt?" after his mother reminded him. The little one finally realized it seems he bumped somewhere during the competition, just when he was going to say that this injury was nothing. The next second, Dahlia lifted Yuri horizontally and ran straight to the infirmary. "Mother, this small wound is nothing, and the blood will stain your clothes." "It doesn't matter, Yuri, don't worry about it." Perhaps feeling so much maternal concern, the little one feels both warm and guilty. Finally, he burst out, "Mother, let go of me, I can walk by myself." Dahlia was stunned. It was the first time she had seen her son like this. "Yuri, you tried so hard on the track, but I could only cheer you on from the stands. So let me carry you." Dahlia gently cradled him, her eyes full of worry. The little one looked at his mother. "I also feel bad, Mother. This way I'm not causing you trouble. Not at all. But I lost the competition, and what does it matter? I'm still proud of you. And I also thank you for letting me see such an exciting competition." His mother's words deeply touched his worried soul. He understood that he had unjustly accused his mother. Dahlia ran very fast. In an instant, she arrived at the infirmary. The doctor saw that the wound was not serious, so he gave the child a simple bandage. Uriel's holy fencing competition is also over. Come on, let's go change our clothes. "But mother, I have to go practice fencing afterwards, so I won't change my clothes." Faced with her son's words, Dahlia couldn't help but sigh. She thought that after changing clothes, they would go to the festival. Hearing the word festival, the little one's eyes lit up. He immediately changed his opinion. "Little mother, suddenly I don't want to go practice the sword anymore, I want to go to the festival." Seeing her son's adorable expression, Dahlia's heart melted. "Great, let's go together. I was just a little scared to go alone. But, mother dear, I have a request. Can I invite Lucas to come? I think it will be more fun if there are more of us. And I haven't congratulated him yet for winning the championship." The little one looked at his mother expectantly. Dahlia agreed without a second thought. "Let's go find Lucas together." Meanwhile, outside the playing field, Klaus is looking at the flower with a serious face. "Your Majesty, this poisonous plant was discovered after the competition." "It's not a poisonous plant that grows naturally around here. Someone definitely brought it from outside, but it seems he didn't have time to use it." It could be that someone planned to assassinate His Majesty. Regarding John's speculation, Klaus shakes his head directly. He knew that poisonous flower. It could paralyze the victim's body for a few days. It wasn't capable of killing anyone. So why did that person bring that bouquet of poisonous flowers? What was their purpose? It turns out that that bouquet of poisonous flowers was brought by someone sent by Duke Strag. He wanted his son to give it to the Crown Prince, so that he would drink it alone. His previous plan to assassinate Klaus failed. Now it seems I can only rely on you, making you befriend the Crown Prince. It was a wise move. If you suddenly became very weak, society will be full of rumors. Everyone will speculate that it was that stupid Crown Prince who, after losing to the firstborn of the ducal house in the Holy Sword trial, felt jealous and conspired to assassinate him. Hearing his father's evil plan, Lucas trembled with fear. He didn't expect it. His father, for the future of the House of Strag Dukes, would go so far as to do such a thing. Before leaving, the Duke of Strag hypocritically encouraged his son. "Relax, Lucas. This poison won't kill you. I have a lot of faith in you." Lucas looked at the poison in his hand. His body wouldn't stop trembling, just when he didn't know what to decide. Yuri suddenly appeared, wanting to invite him to the festival, and also ask him for a favor. It was this. Lucas frowned, confused. I don't understand what he's doing this for. Actually, I want to test my mother. To see if I don't become a successful emperor and crown prince, she will be disappointed in me. With that said, he looked at Lucas with great expectation. Please, only you can help me with this. Perhaps he didn't want to see his good friend sad. Lucas gritted his teeth and accepted, and in a place where Yuri couldn't see him, he threw the poison he had in his hand into the bushes behind him. He thought he would later tell his father that he was almost discovered with the poison, so he simply got rid of it after finding a good excuse. Lucas finally breathed a sigh of relief. After that, the two little ones started their battle plan together. Halfway there, they encountered Emperor Klaus, but this didn't affect their plan. Soon, Yuri began his first task. First, he ran towards his mother, and in a childish voice, he told her he wanted to eat that candy. Dahlia would never refuse a request from her son, but when she asked him which one he wanted, Yuri was stunned. Luckily, Lucas helped him. "Do you want to buy them all?" The little one, after receiving the suggestion with a magical look, said he wanted them all. Immediately, all kinds of candies appeared in Yuri's hands. But he didn't forget to share with his strategist. Seeing that the first task was completed so easily, the two little ones, full of energy, started a new battle plan. Suddenly they started running, but every 2 steps they were discovered by Klaus's sharp gaze. The plan could only be declared a failure. Plan 3 consists of not using chance. Come and see what adorable horses. Wow, really? But before Yuri finished speaking, Lucas looked at him with disdain. You speak so softly, who will hear you? Happy moments are always brief. When they finished walking around the festival, it was already dusk. This is one of them. The shop owner still doesn't forget to ask them if they had fun today. The little one is still a bit scared. This experience has been very pleasant for me. Fortunately, thanks to Lucas's encouragement, the little one dared to express his ideas aloud. I had a great time today. As for the manifestation of concern, Lucas, with effort, wrote the word approved in his plan. The future. Mom doesn't dislike him doing these things at all. After all, she is your mother. Parents. They surely want to see their children happy. After listening to Lucas's explanation, the little one is still a bit unlucky, even if the child always fails. Those words seem to hurt Lucas, he sighed involuntarily. Who knows, look, Her Majesty the Queen is still happy. That says it all, doesn't it? Dahlia, seeing the two little ones staring at her, asked them with a smile if they needed anything. To completely dispel Yuri's worries, Lucas lied. He wanted to go see the puppet show over there, but it's already very late. We should go back. He had barely finished speaking. Delia clapped and said she wanted to see it too. So everyone went to see the puppet show. At that moment, Yuri completely believed it. No matter what I become, no mother would hate her own child. When the play ends, Lucas couldn't help but criticize the cliché plot. Don't they think the brother here is a hindrance? If one were to defeat the dragon alone, wouldn't it be easier? This is John, who is behind them, who presented a different opinion. And if we change brother to sister, it would surely be adorable. Hearing their conversation, Yuri suddenly had a brilliant idea. He thought of his fourth plan of attack. Mother, could you give me a little brother or a sister? Faced with his son's illusion of a sister, Delilah doesn't know how to respond. She thinks if she will find the opportunity later to ask His Majesty if he could add a new member to the family. Yuri feels a little disappointed seeing his mother staring blankly. He thought perhaps his request was excessive. Fortunately, Klaus speaks at that moment. "Yuri, look, kiss that couple over there. That kind of men and women." Klaus was about to speak, and everyone thought it was a bad idea. Dahlia quickly covered Yuri's ears. John desperately tried to convince His Majesty not to say those things. "Princess Yuri is still very young. I can't bear this." But Klaus seemed indifferent. He said that when he was my age, he had already begun to learn this knowledge. Seeing that he couldn't convince His Majesty, John had to turn around to comfort. "Princess Yuri, Your Majesty, what you said a moment ago is too complicated. Let me simplify it for you. As long as the relationship between a man and a woman is intimate enough, they can have a baby just by holding hands." Hearing that having children was so simple, his worried eyes lit up. He ran quickly and joined his parents' hands, hoping they would give him a little sister. That way, he wouldn't be alone anymore. When the group left the theater, it was already very late. Before saying goodbye, the little one didn't forget to thank Lucas. "Lucas, you're really amazing. If I had been alone, I surely wouldn't have been able to complete these tasks." Lucas smiled and downplayed the matter with a wave of his hand. "Who told you to be my best friend? Although I remember that in your planning chart you still have something left to do. Aren't you going to ask him?" The little one hesitated a bit. In the end, he decided to wait until next time. Although he trusted his ma, Dre, he was sure she would give him an answer. All doubts, all the comfort of forgiving him. But just this still makes him a little scared. Saying that, he gave Lucas a reassuring look. "The next time we see each other, I will definitely tell Klaus the answer." From my mother, looking at Yuri's confidence, the corners of his lips curved slightly upwards, instead of a handshake or a written contract. But his gestures of intimacy were seen by Delia, who was not far away. He was still savoring the words Yuri had said before. If at home there could really be someone like Yuri, such an adorable little angel, he didn't dare imagine how happy he would be. But that desire is difficult to fulfill. He needs His Majesty's consent. But just when he was worried about how to talk to His Majesty, Klaus was already in front of him and notified him that it was almost time to pack up and leave. The moment he saw Klaus, Delia suddenly thought of something. "Your Majesty, regarding the previous agreement with the Holy Swordsman, could you give me a little more time?" Klaus was somewhat bewildered. He didn't understand why she suddenly said that. "That's the reason you invited me to the festival today." Dahlia nodded softly. Today, the reason she invited Klaus to the festival was because she saw what Lucas threw away. At first, she thought Lucas wanted to harm Julian. Then she realized she was wrong. Therefore, the bottle he threw away had been given to him by the Duke, and for some purpose. Just in case, she invited His Majesty to the ceremony. The most important thing right now is to investigate what exactly that bottle contains. Klaus didn't reject Delia's request. He simply asked her that on the agreed day. To only worry about herself, that it would be enough for that day to be completely hers. Delia was a little surprised. Those are words from the cold tyrant. Without waiting for the two of them to finish talking, he arrived skipping. Afterwards, the group returned home. The next morning, Dahlia packed her things and went to the slums. After the apothecary's evaluation the night before, it was confirmed that the bottle contained a substance called BB, the poison of Tullus. It paralyzes the body of whoever ingests it, inducing a state of apparent death, combining it with the previous plan to cut the reins of His Majesty's horse. Dahlia could already imagine the Duke's plot. Little by little, her gaze became firm. "If you want to hurt my son, I won't make it easy for you either." With the help of his good friend, Yuri finally resolved his internal conflict and believes that his mother will always love him. But she doesn't know that Lucas is giving up the task his father entrusted to him to protect their friendship. And at this moment, he is being punished at home. "Son, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Why have you gotten close to the Crown Prince? I think it's not just to play with him. It's not a simple game of friends, is it?" Faced with his father's cold voice, Lucas doesn't dare to raise his head to look at him. He simply lowers his head and explains to his father, "I hope the competition between the Crown Prince and me will be fair and clean." After these words, Duke Starag's face darkened even more. "Lucas, you know what you're saying. Could it be out of your own cowardice? You seek such excuses. If you cannot seize the throne, then what is your purpose in this house? Return to your confinement. You will not see the light of day without my permission." That's how Lucas was locked up by his father. Meanwhile, in the slums, Delilah was secretly searching. Suddenly, a sharp cry interrupted her thoughts. How annoying. Throw it away quickly and go home to work. All day with useless things. What's going on? And this scene reminded Dahlia of her own childhood. That torn doll, the desperation and helplessness she felt then. She still remembers it. Perhaps she didn't want the little girl's childhood to be marked by sorrow. Dahlia stopped the mother and daughter. Excuse me, you don't need it anymore. It's just that I also have a 6-year-old daughter. Maybe I can help with something. The girl's mother interrupted, showed some impatience. Seeing Dahlia's luxurious dress, the woman's face darkened even more. Of course, only a wealthy family would have free time to meddle in other people's affairs. You must be an excellent mother. These words were like a sharp sword. They deeply pierced Dahlia's heart. She in the past would lock herself in her room and didn't want to take a step outside. She was a weak and incapable mother, and now she can only depend on the worried kindness and goodwill of those around her to continue living. If she remained isolated and helpless, it might change the outcome of the future. Although it was unclear what the final outcome would be, Delilah knew in her heart that he couldn't stand idly by. After understanding all this, Delilah, without saying anything, put the doll in the woman's hand and asked her not to throw it away, otherwise she would regret it later. This strange behavior left the woman a bit bewildered. Fortunately, at that moment the child spoke. "Mom, I'm sorry, I was too capricious before." Seeing the child crying in so much pain, the woman realized her mistake. She hurried to comfort him. "I'm sorry, it was Mom who was wrong. Mom shouldn't be so selfish." Dahlia saw that the problem was resolved. Her mood improved greatly, without knowing why. She began to worry a little, even though they had only been separated for a moment. Meanwhile, Klaus arrived in the slums with his subordinates for an inspection. He didn't expect that in such a short time. The slums have become so desolate. It must be the work of the Duke of the Isle. He had his subordinates increase inspection visits. We cannot allow Duke Strag to interfere further in the economy of the slums. This time he will not leave any clues. Perhaps Klaus was so absorbed in his thoughts that John, who was by his side, mistakenly thought he was thinking, "Her Majesty the Queen. Your Majesty must prioritize your work. Her Majesty is surely at the castle with Princess Yuri." He had barely finished speaking. Reality slapped John in the face. He saw that Dahlia had appeared in front of them without them noticing. I suppose it was John, he made too much noise. Dahlia also saw them. In the time that followed, Dahlia told Klaus everything she had discovered. She told Klaus everything. She says the Duke's son was carrying poison. "Yes, Your Majesty. And the poisonous herb you found was also belladonna. And this poisonous herb only grows in the Count's territory. That is to say, Duke Strag and the Count are allies." Listening to his wife's analysis, Klaus couldn't help but sigh. Actually, he already knew all this. But the most important thing now is the lack of decisive evidence to condemn the Count and the others. Just when Klaus was desperate, Dahlia suddenly interjected and said she knew a good way to make them show their weak point. "First, I need John to pose as a merchant and visit the Count's mansion. Then find a way to sell this bottle to the Count. I have previously sprayed Bibitalis pollen on this bottle, of Bibitalis on this bottle. Just a little will cause a rash on the hands. Then we will show him the poison. The nervous Count will surely show some weakness. Regarding this plan, John fully agrees with Your Majesty. You are very intelligent. Then I will keep this bottle for now, tomorrow, before the video leaves me." Before he finished speaking, John's hand was already reacting. For this apparent secretary, Klaus was already used to it. The next second, he skillfully began to wipe the antidote on him, while waiting for Klaus to finish all this. It was already late at night. Opening the door, he found his wife waiting at the entrance. "How is John?" Klaus waved his hand to reassure her. "Just a little contact, he'll be healed tomorrow." Dahlia was relieved to hear that. After all, John was injured because of her plan. "Oh yes, Your Majesty. I remember that John's birthday is just around the ski. I plan to give him a notebook and a pen so he can write down important things at any time. Then it would be better for him to write it down. That thing about being a good secretary." Dahlia laughed at the joke. "Since Your Majesty says so, we better send him to Heitna to refine himself a bit." Klaus agrees with the idea. It would be better if he refined himself for 8 or 10 years, so that he too can taste the suffering of his childhood. The two chatted very lively, and with the smooth development of the next day's plan, the Count finally couldn't bear the pressure and confessed all his misdeeds with Duke Strang. Your Majesty, I didn't plan the incident with the sacred sword. It was the Duke. I only provided the poison. I didn't do anything else. Do you have any proof? Terrified by Klaus's powerful power, the Count didn't even think about it and handed over the Duke's handwritten order. Now Klaus finally has in his hands the proof of Dukestrag's crime. His mood improved a bit, but in the county of the Counts, Klaus realized that something was wrong. John, do you remember how many guards there were when you arrived here? It seems there are 3. Hearing this, Klaus's face changed drastically. He immediately ordered his men to prepare the carriage. He was going to chase that person. That person could be a spy for the Duke. Meanwhile, Dahlia was chatting with the villagers. She even received a letter from Duke Strager. He was desperate. He delivered the letter to the king in haste. But after Klaus read the letter, he froze. Yuri, the Duke, has his eyes on him.